No doubt you've seen all the news about Hero of the Seas. You've watched our video, read our article at realgreenblog.com. Thank you very much for that. And you're excited as I am about this ship. But there's one thing that really jumps out at me, and that is the ultimate family treehouse. So Royal Caribbean has been building these crazy over-the-top suites for a while now. We had the Ultimate Family Suite, then we had the Ultimate Family Townhouse, and the Townhouse was cool, but it was clearly just the Ultimate Family Suite on steroids. The Ultimate Family Treehouse, though, really jumps out. It's not only, I think, a really smart idea, very creative. I mean, I probably got more comments from random people who don't follow cruising about this one feature than anything else. I mean, my daughter, who is about as jaded as they come in terms of cruising, my oldest one, that is, she texted me about when we're booking the Ultimate Family Treehouse. I mean, I laughed because I was like, I don't know, if maybe about 1,000 of your friends are becoming Royal Green Block insiders, maybe we can afford that. But it's just it's such a cool space that it has gotten so much attention. I really think Royal Caribbean might be onto something here. I mean, not about creating like suites that cost $100,000 each. I'm talking about just creating really more creative rooms because there's definitely an appetite for these type of rooms. It actually reminds me of something that Disney Cruise Line did to their credit. We're going to steal this idea because I think it's really smart. Is taking generic, boring staterooms and turning them into something different. Now, Disney's been doing this for a long time with their hotels. They take their basic hotel rooms that are just, a regular old room that might be you find in a Holiday Inn Express, and they add a movie theme to it. And all of a sudden, it becomes like, I need to stay in it. And this extends to, of course, their cruise line as well, where they have cabins that have a different motif. And it's really important for some families that they're in a certain princess themed room or a movie themed room. And I think Royal Caribbean can do this. Now, Royal Caribbean doesn't have the IP that Disney has, obviously, right? They don't have these characters in movies they can lean on. But this Ultimate Family Treehouse got me thinking, what if you came up with different themes and motifs that got families excited? Like, this is a treehouse thing. So perhaps you have, on a lesser scale, obviously, other arbor themed rooms. Maybe they're city, like destination based, right? You could be in a Caribbean room or a New York City room or a Paris room, something that obviously they could doesn't have an IP behind it, but has this like it feels like that kind of thing. Like if you're in Paris, I could totally see having very much, traditional French accents to the cabin. If you were doing Dubai, you could have something like that. I mean, there are a lot of ideas, and this could also tie into, I don't know, where Royal Caribbean's ships go to that could really work. As I'm watching more of this Ultimate Family Treehouse, these are all renderings, obviously, but I feel like it really captures the imagination. I'm not sure anybody out there necessarily was thinking Robinson Crusoe is the best kind of a cabin for a cruise ship, but I think this is a really smart idea. And I love some of the choices they made on here. First of all, 3 levels, which is really impressive. They also have 2 separate full bedrooms. That's also a really smart idea. I mean, this cabin costs, as I mentioned, like the Ultimate Family Townhouse has gone on record for being around 75, 80, $100,000. Depends on, obviously, for a week I'm talking about. It also depends on the time of year, how many people, but that's generally been its pricing structure. And I'm going to assume, because as of the recording of this podcast, the Ultimate Family Treehouse is not available to book yet, so I don't know the pricing, but because I put it out here earlier and wanted to get it out here. Anyway, my point is that if you're going to spend that kind of money, you can more justify it if you split the cabin with another family. But the problem with the Ultimate Family Suite and the Townhouse has been, well, there is one true master suite. And then if you were splitting with somebody else, someone gets like the B room, the room that isn't as nice as a master suite. And for adults, that matters. For kids, it doesn't. And I feel like by having 2 master bedrooms, that really does make the equation easier. Listen, I am not justifying that, oh, guys, it's okay if we're splitting 50K each. It's totally palatable and cheap. It's not. It's a stupid splurge, but there are people that will book it. In fact, it'll be booked every single sailing. This is something that we see a lot of arguments online about. I can't believe we're looking at charging these prices. Well, they're charging because people are paying them, and the evidence of that is every single cruise you're on, these type of rooms are booked up. I mean, it goes without fail. Occasionally, you see one room maybe not sold and close in, but then it disappears at some point. I mean, someone's paying it, right? And they're making money on it. So there is a market for it. It's not you or I, or maybe it is you. If it is you, we should be best friends. But I'm assuming most of the people listening to this are not in that market. Nonetheless, it's still a really cool room to dream about. I, for a long time, never thought I would ever stay in the Ultimate Family Suite. I was able to do so. Granted, it was on a 3-night cruise, and took advantage of a very opportunistic booking. I booked it it was October, right in the middle of the school year, hurricane season. I mean, you pick every single reason why that particular weekend wasn't as popular, and I still paid a lot for it, don't get me wrong, but it was more palatable compared to, what it could have been plus what's been since then. Anyway, back to the treehouse. I think the area though that really stands out is definitely the third level. It looks like an outdoor deck. I mean, they've got a hot tub, whirlpool, whatever you want to call it, that's right on the edge that overlooks the back of the ship. You've got these great lounger spaces. You've got a outdoor dining space, which I would argue, like most times of the year, it's going to be too hot to be out there. But hey, I like the idea anyway. Plus, there's a bar area, there's a lounge area, giant TV. I mean, give Royal Caribbean credit where credit is due. They can really dream up some amazing spaces. And so, from this room perspective, I'll see it obviously when the ship actually debuts. And Royal Caribbean, when I say that, I mean Royal Caribbean will invite me on board the ship for like one of their preview sailings. And that's the only time I'll ever be able to get into this kind of a suite. But I really think that if someone books this room, I mean, granted, these are all renderings, so the final product could be different, but I venture to say I would be shocked if it wasn't as impressive as we see here in the renderings, because it looks utterly amazing. But thinking about this is why I think I would love to see Royal Caribbean do more of these type of themes to it, especially if they're timeless themes that are based on, I don't know, destinations or something else, but make them just stand out a little bit. Not to mention the fact that, because again, we can't all afford the Ultimate Family Treehouse, what if they kind of started doing this on a smaller scale, whether they're in regular rooms or even just like right now we have like the Surfside Family Suites, that type of a room that offers a little more space for more people, but also you could add a little more of a theme area. I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking about how much more Royal Caribbean could do to leverage this idea and push it forward, because I think it's a really smart thing. I think it captures a lot of attention. And at the end of the day, having different options for cabins that I think make you even more excited for a cruise is always a win. And I really do believe that this type of a room is going to be a huge home run. What's interesting also is that Royal Caribbean is keeping both the townhouse and the treehouse. Initially, I thought the treehouse was replacing the townhouse, but it's not. It's actually going into where the Royal Loft Suite was located on the other Icon class ships. Not to worry, by the way, I heard that the Royal Loft Suite is still staying, just moving somewhere else. So they're keeping both of those. That's quite obviously a moneymaker for them. And I kind of hope that the Ultimate Family Treehouse is like the first in more of these type of rooms. I mean, yeah, suites, but like, again, let's get more creative with it, because I think there's opportunity. I want to spend money, please. It's like that gif of take my money now. That would be one of those things, but like, let's keep the price, like, I don't know, below the price of a new car. All right, friends, time to answer listener emails. This is part of the episode where I answer your emails, and I got to admit, I am really far behind in emails. Like, it's gotten a lot. At one point, I got pretty close to finishing. Anyway, we're going to dedicate a lot of these here, so I'm going to do my best. Starting off with an email from Jennifer. Hey, Matt, been listening to you for a bunch of older episodes. I'm currently in the episode, Reasons People Avoid Going on a Cruise and Why They're Wrong. Listening to that made me remember something I did a few months ago. I, being both a nerd and a cruise lover, was trying to convince some of my fellow nerd friends to go on a cruise. I made a cost comparison chart going on a cruise versus going to MegaCon, which is a very popular nerd convention in Orlando. Thought you'd get a kick out of it. It's $1,000 cheaper to go on a cruise than attend the convention. Don't remember which sailing specifically I was trying to convince them of, but the savings is crazy. Maybe this will convince them to join my addition. Thanks for all you do. Your podcast make my daily commute to my job bearable. First of all, I love this. I mean, way to use math and logic to convince people to book a cruise. I will say, the cruise lines are trying to level this playing field a bit, but it definitely is a great value still. Even, I mean, maybe not if you're booking the Ultimate Family Treehouse, but if you're booking other kinds of rooms, there's just, when you start adding in entertainment and food, that's where the scale starts to tip tremendously towards cruising. Like, if you look at just the cruise fare, airfare, your excursions, internet, it starts to be like, is it really saving me that much? But you add in the entertainment. If you have any kind of status with Royal Caribbean, especially Diamond, I mean, then it really starts to be apparent. I think I shared this story. Well, I shared it on RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. I'm not sure if I shared it here on the podcast, but we went to Disneyland Paris last summer before a cruise, and we were there for about half a day. We were there for a couple days, but within half a day, I quickly realized how much money this vacation was costing me. and how much money I would have been saving if we were on a cruise instead. I mean, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet, but it was really eye-opening when you start to go to a land resort or land vacation and start to add up those costs that you would have otherwise gotten on a cruise. So, Jennifer, your comparison is very well done. Our next email is from Justin from Connecticut. How do the crystal blocks work? My wife hasn't gotten one yet for her point milestones, but I've gotten them for mine. Does it only go to the person with the most points in the household? Soon my kids will be hitting those point milestones on their own, even though they currently have inherited my status. Do they get crystal blocks when they hit those milestones? Shout out from Worcester Street. It's a great question, and those crystal blocks you get are only per household. So once you reach 140 cruise points, Royal Caribbean, whatever ship you're on, Royal Caribbean will give you a crystal block of commemorating that ship. So if you're on Oasis of the Seas, you'll get an Oasis of the Seas one. And then you'll receive another crystal block every 70 points on top of the initial 140. So 210, 280, 350, 420, you get it. And the thing is, number one, I feel like I always get these on a cruise in which I have to fly home. And the reason why that's a problem is because TSA will usually flag it because when it goes to the X-ray machine, it just shows up as I don't know what, and it causes problems. But nonetheless, it's only per household. So the fact that your wife or your spouse and your kids are going to be reaching that, no, you won't get doubled up or tripled up or whatever the case may be. It's just per household. And when your kids become adults and they're no longer living with you, then yes, they would start getting their own there. But hopefully that explains that. Shout out to Justin from Connecticut. Always a pleasure to meet fellow Connecticutians. Our next email is from Robert. I have a 7-night sailing booked on Star of the Seas from November 7th, 2027. This is a unique sailing because the itinerary does not include Perfect Day at Coco Cay on day 2 from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Costa Maya on day 4, and Cozumel on day 5 from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. What the sailing does not include is a stop in Roatan. My question is twofold. As you know, even with the court halting construction of Perfect Day Mexico, which they're not, by the way, that's fake news, is it still expected to open in fall of 2027? Yes. Second question, why would my particular itinerary be different from every other Star of the Sea sailing to Mexico? Do you think this itinerary could change to replace Perfect Day Coco Cay with Perfect Day Mexico? I just think that since Coco Cay and Cozumel are for the same exact hours, wouldn't that be an awesome upgrade to the new location? What do you think? Yes, remember, Perfect Day Mexico is going in Costa Maya, not Cozumel. Cozumel is getting a beach club. I know, it's confusing. But anyway, I digress. Why aren't you stopping in Roatan? Could be as simple as Roatan is full. There's no room at the inn, so to speak. And this happens sometimes where there's just no spots available, and for that particular week, there's too many ships booked, and so Star can't go there, and you get a sea day instead. That's the most likely scenario. If it was more related to Perfect Day Mexico, which, by the way, you're going in November 27th, so you're within that. Maybe it'll be open by then. But at some point, they'll switch out when they know when Perfect Day Mexico will open. They'll swap out those Costa Maya listings to become Perfect Day Mexico, but they're not sure where that line in the sand is quite yet. So, but I really don't believe your itinerary has anything to do with that. I could be wrong, but because it's a one-off and no other ones are doing that, to me it just seems like, well, there's just no room there, and that's why you're not stopping there. So enjoy another day on the ship, which honestly, a ship as impressive as Star, that's not a bad thing. Next email is from Scott in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Hi, Matt. Love your channel and your content. You provided a lot of helpful tips and are my go-to for Royal Caribbean news. My question is, there's a video going around of a guy who spoke to a worker on NCL who said the prepaid gratuities don't go to workers. Their wage is the same no matter what. Do you have any insight with Royal Caribbean? One would hope it goes to the workers and not the bottom line. Thanks for the email. So I've not seen that particular video, but I have seen similar comments from other sources about along the way. Let me start off with number one. Number one, I don't have any insight or insider knowledge on how gratuities work at scale. What I mean by that is there are crew members of various roles, various seniorities, and various pay grades. The best example I can give to you is like if you work in a major corporation, or maybe the military is a better analogy, where you have like level 1, level 2, like you can have similar titles but have more seniority and then you get paid more. I think you know where I'm going with this analogy on that one. So what one person gets is not necessarily representative of what someone else gets. Number two, this is obviously NCL versus Royal Caribbean. I don't pretend to know anything about NCL, so I can't say that. I will just simply answer your question with saying this much. The prepaid gratuities go towards the crew members that are working on the ship and a lot of people behind the scenes. This is the fallacy of a lot of people's assumptions about prepaid gratuities, because people look at it and they see their stateroom attendant and they want to know why, or are curious as to why the daily amount that's supposed to go to the stateroom attendant is not fully going to them. It also goes to some other people behind the scenes. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, your prepaid gratuities go towards a crew fund. Crew fund is this general pool of money that's for crew members, in which they do like parties, special events. They also use the cruise fund for emergencies, in which a crew member goes through a time in their life in which there's a medical issue or a personal issue, and the crew is aware of it. It's like almost like a welfare type system. That's another use of it. Also, I have to get on my soapbox and say some people manipulate the gratuities to their own advantage. What I mean by this is there are people who don't believe that they should have to pay gratuities on a cruise ship. And to that point, they look for any excuse not to pay them. Because there's a lot of folks out there who say, I don't prepay my gratuities, I don't use the auto gratuity, I ask it to be removed because I pay cash. And listen, not everyone, there are some people I am sure who do that. Although granted, your cash tips do not go towards those other behind the scenes workers in the windjammer and the kitchen, wherever, that aren't getting that. But that's not why I'm on my soapbox here. My bigger issue is I feel there are a lot of people who say they tip in cash and don't. They use it as a money-saving thing. It's something this is why I've talked for years and years and years and years that gratuities should be part of the cruise fare, end of story. I think it's silly that they're not. I think it's sillier that they pretend that it's some sort of an optional cost, because it's not. You're either getting charged for it prepaid, like I always do, or on board the ship as a daily cost. And worse yet, people who do remove them because for whatever reason, the crew members are working really hard and they deserve to get paid for it. And that's why I think they should be part of the cruise fare and not this secondary, like, optional thing, as if it's optional, right? Like if you go to the spa, that's an optional expense. That should not be part of the cruise fare. But if you elect to do that, more power to you. Gratuities are treated like that, but it's not really that case at all. And that's why I think they should be part of the cruise fare. So Scott, your question's a fair one, but I think there's so many different layers and levels. There's layers of where the money goes to other crew members who are not frontline crew members. And there's levels, not every crew member they're not all privates in the Army. There is various levels of this. And we've seen enough like posts from different waiters and bartenders and people who have been employed with the cruise line to understand they are getting the money. It may not be exactly the way that we envision it, but at the same time, they are getting, I think, fairly compensated. And this is also why I tip in addition to the prepaid gratuities. You know, I've said this before. I've done YouTube videos about this. I give my stateroom attendant usually $50, $100 per cruise to take, because if they dealt with my kids, they deserve some extra money there. When I order a drink, even though if I have a drink package and gratuity is already included, I still tip $1 on top of it for not only the good service, but also, hey, I'll stand out and hopefully get even better service going forward. There are other examples of this, you know, in the spa, I'll sometimes tip extra. It all depends on the situation. But if I was in charge of Royal Caribbean, I would definitely make gratuities part of the cruise fare and stop pretending like it's 1970 and they're somehow magically optional and really not there. Because we do live, unfortunately, in this tipping, I forget what the word is, not tipping community, tipping environment. And it's definitely very prevalent here in the United States, and it applies to cruise ships as well. And I would love to see that change. So there you go, Scott, a little bit on my soapbox over there with your particular email. Our next email is from Megan. We recently purchased tickets to the Royal Beach Club for Nassau for our cruise in July because we got a great deal on it bundled with a deluxe beverage package. Our ship doesn't dock till Nassau until 1 p.m. and are all aboard at 7:30. My question is, will the Royal Beach Club be open later to accommodate the late docking time? Like I said, we're happy either way with the deal we got. Purchasing the Beach Club for only a few hours seems silly. My understanding, Megan, is you will. Royal Caribbean has said that their operating hours at the Beach Club reflect the all aboard time your ship has. And yeah, 7:30 definitely is a late one, but I certainly would expect it to be open until, 6:30, 7 o'clock at the very least. So that would be my expectation. I'm not sure we've seen an example yet to verify it, but that is what I would expect if I were in your scenario. And by the way, it's gonna be awesome because when you get past like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and other people on other ships have to leave, you're gonna have the place to yourself. Next email's from Trudy. Hey Matt, my husband and I booked our first Royal Caribbean cruise on Legend of the Seas in January. We sailed to Southern Caribbean in November. Then I started listening to your podcast and reading your blogs, and I could not get enough of Royal Caribbean info. I was hooked on Royal Caribbean without having sailed on one of the ships. In February, I found a 5-night cruise to the Western Caribbean sailing out of Galveston on Mariner of the Seas in April to celebrate our 19th wedding anniversary. The price was right, so we booked it. Then I thought, there's just too much time between April and November. We need another cruise. 2 weeks after booking the April cruise, we booked another cruise, this time on Allure of the Seas, 8-night to the Eastern Caribbean. Each of these cruises takes us to places we've never been before, and we're starting with a smaller ship, then a bigger ship, and finally the biggest ship. We're so excited. Thanks so much for all your useful information, tips, and tricks. Trudy, I love this. You are starting off, number one, you got bit by the cruise bug, clearly. Number two, actually, to her credit, her email subject is bitten by the Royal Caribbean cruise bug before a single sailing. Number two, you're doing it the right way, elevating, escalating, getting better. I love it. I think you're in for a real treat with some of those, and it seems like you're off to a good start. And I love your logic, by the way. It definitely is way too long until your next cruise, so. And how are we doing on time here? Because I know we're behind. All right, we're going to answer a couple more emails, so we still got plenty of time here. Next email is from Kevin. Hi, Matt. I enjoy your content. I'm having trouble finding an answer to a loyalty question. Am I making this up in my head, or can you get loyalty points for your children that are sailing with you? I swear I heard or read that somewhere, but I can't find it about it now. Kevin, you made it up. You may have read about it, but it's wrong. No, you get points for the cruises you take. It's just like airlines. You get points for the flights that you take, not what anyone else takes. So you don't get points for your kids, your spouse, anybody else. No matter if you're paying for it or not, it's irrelevant. You only get cruise points for yourself. Now, granted, your kids earn points. Your spouse earns points. But they all earn points within their own pools there. And it's not like the airlines, in the sense you can combine points, in that regard. This is purely your own point total. So whomever has the highest point total within your household, that'll be the person who escalates and brings everybody up with them. So if you hit diamond before anybody else, then obviously your spouse and your kids, as long as they're under 18, will get that status as well. Next up is an email from Deb Veerkamp. Hi, Matt. Can you explain how My Time dining works? It seems to have changed from the days of its introduction. Can a couple with My Time eat earlier than 6:30 in the main dining room? Deb, good email. So the answer to your question really is no. My Time dining begins at 6:30, which is why you usually see a pretty big lineup right around 6:30 for people to get in there. My Time dining has two options. One is a reservation, and one is without a reservation. So they'll seat folks with a reservation first, and those without a reservation are seated second. And obviously you can show up anytime. You can make a reservation anytime. But the 5 or 5-ish until about 6:30 is for, usually have traditional dining first. It's the most popular time. And then they start sprinkling in. Now, I have seen, though, definitely some folks from My Time being brought in there maybe a little earlier than 6:30, but you got to talk to the head waiter. But officially, the reservations and everything like that is set at 6:30 p.m. So if you're doing My Time, that is the trade-off, if you will, is that you can't book anything before 6:30. And that's why traditional dining, it's a problem. I agree, 5 o'clock is too early for dinner. But it's amazing how 1 hour certainly makes you all of a sudden feel like, you're starving. I wish Royal would push back the first seating time from 5 to 5:30 consistently, but the introduction of the middle dining time, because now they have 3, right? They have 5, it's like 7:30 or so, and then 8 something. The middle time is kind of, I think, put the kibosh on an earlier time there, but yeah, it is what it is. And our last email today is from Dan Rabinovitz. Hi, Matt. Love your content. It's been so helpful over the years. Thank you. I was watching your Q&A from March 31st and wanted to share our experience with GoPort at Orlando. I believe you said you now reside in Florida, but I thought I'd write this in a way that could be helpful to those unfamiliar with the state and GoPort, in case you'd like any of the feedback. As someone who made a tradition of cruising at least once a year with the family, I know how important it is to have smooth travel logistics, especially when you have young kids in tow. While cruising is always an exciting experience, getting to and from the port can be a logistical nightmare. In 2023, we sailed Harmony of the Seas from Miami, and I was surprised by the challenges I faced when trying to figure out how to get to and from Port Miami. With young kids and the goal of avoiding Uber, Lyft, or taxis, I struggled to find reasonable options to get from the airport, Fort Lauderdale, to Miami, or to a hotel the day before the cruise, and then from that hotel to the port the next day. Fast forward to 2024, we're sailing on Wonder of the Seas out of Port Canaveral. I had never sailed from this port before, so I was eager to try something new. However, finding a hotel that offered shuttle service from Orlando was a challenge. Renting a car to leave parked at the port for the entire cruise didn't make any sense either. That's when I discovered GoPort. We stayed at the Orlando Hyatt, which was ideal because it's the airport and our flight arrived late. With young kids, I didn't want to deal with the hassle of traveling far from the airport to get to our hotel, especially at night. After a comfortable stay at the Hyatt, we took the elevator down and found ourselves between terminals A and B in the airport. We grabbed a quick breakfast before heading to GoPort waiting area, which is on the ground floor of the terminal. Check-in process was quick, and we received our bus number and bag tags along with instructions that we'd be notified when the bus was near. When the bus did arrive, we hopped on for a smooth 45-minute ride directly to the port. Couldn't have been easier. Upon disembarking, the return trip was just as seamless. We did not wait long for the GoPort bus back to the airport, and the driver made the ride entertaining by sharing informative commentary about several local sites along the way. For just $29.99 a person, one way, GoPort offered both efficiency and convenience. I wouldn't hesitate to use a GoPort again for future sailing out of Canaveral, and that sounds amazing. I mean, I've heard good things about it. We actually had one of our staff members use GoPort a little while ago because we heard really good things about it. As many of you know, I'm not a fan of shuttle services in general, but I think GoPort bucks that trend because it solves the problems that shuttle services have of being unreliable and inefficient. And it sounds like, and Dan seems to back it up here, that GoPort is a really good option for you to get from Orlando Airport to your cruise port. I haven't used it personally, but again, it's one of those things that I've heard such universal good feedback from, and Dan's email is an example of that I do recommend it, even though I've never actually tried it before, because it's like if that many people can say the same thing about it, it's probably a good idea. So there you go, great option. And I do commiserate with you, Dan. When my kids were younger, it's one thing when you have adults to get from one place to another, like Uber, and there's so many great options. When you got kids, especially young children who still need car seats, shuttle services, unfortunately, are a necessary evil, and in many cases, they are evil. But with GoPort, I don't think that's necessarily the case. Thank you, Dan, for the email. Thank you, everybody, for checking out this episode of the Royal Caribbean Blog Podcast. If you have an email you'd like to send in, you can always email it to me, Matt, M-A-T-T, at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, Matt at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Until next time, I'm Matt. We'll talk again real soon.